Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we talk about ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. Today we're going to finish up our series on the Hong Kong Big Three, which was SMC, Dinway, and today is Wingtat. So the reason those are the Big Three is those were the primary manufacturers of ceiling fans outside of the US before the 70s. Welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. You know what? I'm going to see what order I posted those videos in. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan... I don't want an energy drink in the shot. I haven't had one of those in a long time. No reason to make people think I drink them every day. Let's line this up a little better. That's bad. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. So today we're going to finish up our micro series on the Hong Kong Big Three. These were the three primary... Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. Today we're going to follow... Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. Today we're going to finish up the Hong Kong Big Three. We did SMC, we did Dinway, and today we're going to talk about Wingtat. Now the reason those are the Big Three is they were the primary manufacturers of ceiling fans in Asia prior to the 1970s. I know a lot of times we think Union was one of the biggest ones. They didn't come until the 70s, and we're going to talk about them later. So, Wingtat was founded in 1960, and they were making ceiling fans for domestically, and I believe also exporting them. The first Wingtat fans show up in the US in 1972, and they are what we call the UFO style, with the gold band and then the kind of the clamshell motor that had the top plate and the bottom plate are the same. Pete has 4 of them in the bay of the barn, if you want to know which ones we're talking about. Those are the oldest Wingtat style fans sold in the US. They date back to 1972 here. I'm sure earlier than that overseas. In 1976, Wingtat opened up additional factories called Fantat, Tat, and KANDO. Those were all subsidiaries of Wingtat. That's 1976. In 1980, wood-bladed Tat spinner fans show up in the US. These early ones have no switch housing and are sometimes labeled KANDO. This 1980 is also the first year we see the term Mistralaire. In 1981, Wingtat patented their ornate spinner. I've got a few on my YouTube channel. It's also when we start seeing the Windward name, and it's also the first time we see other Wingtat spinners with switch housings. In 1982, Wingtat patents the heater fan. They also file many, many other ceiling fan-related patents in Australia. Obviously, Australia was a big client of theirs. The last use of Mistralaire in the US is in 1982. 1984 is the last use of Tat in U.S. advertising. In 1986, Home Depot starts using the term Windward, and it's made by Tat, so that's where that name came from. It's also the last year we see the term Mistralaire in Australia. In 1987, Wingtat closes their ceiling fan factories in Hong Kong, or at least some of them. It's not clear if it's all of them or just some, and they begin opening factories in mainland China. Their new China company is called China Miles. In 1992, Lasco sues Wingtat. And if you want to read on this lawsuit, it's very interesting. What happened was a year or two earlier, 1990 or 1991, there was a U.S. government study done about importing ceiling fans. And basically all the manufacturers wanted to import ceiling fans in a way that was cheaper for them as far as import taxes and duties and things like that, to import entire fans, unipack, blades, motor, everything. But Lasco, as you may recall, was just getting the motors from Sanyo, and they were building the rest of the fans here. So they wanted a very, very different structure for import. And Wingtat didn't like that. They were also a huge supplier of Walmart, where Lasco is a huge supplier, so they actually sued Lasco. I believe the case was settled. You can read that whole case. It's online. 1993 is the last use we see for the term Windward. And then 2005 is the last year of Wingtat's website. They are still in business, I believe. Actually, I should check that. So this might even end up being an outtake. Wow, that would be a whole I made it to the end of the video, and it's going to be an outtake. Let me check and see, because I didn't make a note of that, and I should have. Hello, and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. So we're going to finish up our sub-series on the Hong Kong Big Three. You may recall that was SMC, Dinway, and Wingtat. And that's because those were the three companies that were making fans overseas prior to the 70s. Those were the three major manufacturers of ceiling fans outside of the U.S. prior to the 1970s. So, let's talk about Wingtat. Wingtat was founded in 1960. In 1972, Wingtat fans first show up in the U.S., and the model that shows up is what we refer to as the UFO style. Pete has 4 of them hanging in the bay of the barn. They've got the 2 motor halves sandwiched together with a gold band in the middle. The top and the bottom of the motor are basically the same. The blades are curved, but not curved up at the end. Stamped steel, but very, very heavy, very powerful. That was the first style of fans that Wingtat exported to the U.S. Those could be as early as 1972. In 1976, Wingtat founded several subsidiaries: Fantat, TAT, just T-A-T, all in capitals, and KANDO, K-A-N-D-O, also all in capitals. Those were all subsidiaries of Wingtat, founded in 1976. In 1980, wood-bladed TAT spinners show up with the nut on the bottom, no switch housing, sometimes labeled KANDO. 1980 is also the first year we see the Mistralaire name. In 1981, Wingtat patents their ornate spinner. I've got a few. You've seen the videos. It's the similar Wingtat style, but the faceplate of the spinner motor is all ornate. It's also the first year of the Windward name, and the first year that they had other spinners show up with switch housings. In 1982, Wingtat patents their heater fan, which is initially for Moss, and then after David Moss famously screws Wingtat, they offer the heater design to Ritz. It's also the first year of the Windward name, and it's also the last use of the term Mistralaire in the U.S. In 1984, it's the last year we see TAT, T-A-T, by itself in U.S. advertising. In 1986, Home Depot starts using the term Windward, made by TAT. It's also the last year of the Mistralaire term in Australia. In 1987, Wingtat closes ceiling fan factories in Hong Kong and opens factories in China. The new China company is called China Miles. In 1992, Lasco sues Wingtat. And this is really interesting, and you can look up this case online. The whole case is online. So there was a government report done by the U.S. government about importing ceiling fans in 1991. And in that report, they were trying to determine how to apply taxes and duties and customs fees and all of that. And pretty much all of the major manufacturers wanted them to be imported like this. Unipack, you get the blades, motors, and everything, and wanted there to be more favorable fees involved with importing ceiling fans that way, except for Lasco. Because remember, Lasco was just getting their motors from Sanyo, and they were building the rest of the fans here. Lasco wanted there to be more favorable rates, taxes, duties, etc., fees, etc., for when you're just importing the pieces versus the whole thing. So Lasco petitioned the government to act in their favor, and Wingtat sued Lasco. It's very interesting. You should read that if that's something that interests you. 1993 is the last use of the term Windward, and 2005 is the last year of Wingtat's website. Those of us that have been around for a while and collecting ceiling fans for a while and had internet access for a while can remember going online in the late 90s and early 2000s and still seeing Wingtat's ceiling fan website. You can see what we know as a Moss WF series, still for sale with the cane blades and everything like that. I saved a lot of those pictures. So, that's it. That's the Hong Kong Big Three. I think next we're going to talk about the factory that everybody assumes is in the Big Three, but isn't, which is Union and Evergo. That'll probably be next Workbench video. We'll see. Yeah, I don't generally set up a timeline for these. So, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all those great things. I look forward to hearing from you. See you next time. Thanks for watching. This video is sponsored by Fanstick. Bye, Fanstick. Nope.